I think pretty much anybody watching this video right now can agree that Brawl Stars is a great game. That doesn't mean the game isn't perfect or that it can't be improved. Every year I do a video like this where I talk about what is currently missing from Brawl Stars and what do we need, and use that to predict what I think Brawl Stars will do for the current year. Over 2 years ago, I predicted gadgets and power play, which later came to the game. I also predicted changes to the game economy way before Brawl Pass was ever released. And last year, I predicted that gears would be released into the game. They were called different things, and they were different from what we actually got, but the basic concept was the same. This year's no different, okay? I've got 3 major issues that Brawl Stars is currently facing and several predictions on how Supercell can address them to make the game better. Let's start off with the first issue, and that's that there is both too much to do in Brawl Stars as well as not enough. I'm gonna have to explain that. But first, I wanted to give a big thank you to one of my favorite games for sponsoring this video, Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Mobile Legends Bang Bang is a 5v5 MOBA for mobile that has over 1 billion downloads worldwide. Click the link below to download now. One of my favorite things about this game is how much time you actually spend fighting other players instead of just farming mobs like in some other MOBAs. I like to farm a little bit at the beginning of the match to just unlock my hero abilities, and then the rest of the game I spend the entire time sneaking up on enemy players in different lanes and taking them out. There are 3 lanes to hop around between, and there are so much strategy and timing involved when deciding where you need to go. Sometimes you need to play offense and corner enemies when they're not expecting it. Sometimes you need to go help your teammates when they're outnumbered. There are over 100 different heroes to choose from, and they all have really cool, unique abilities. One of my favorite heroes is Carry, because if she lands 5 hits on the same target with her attacks, it deals a lot of extra damage. She can also dash forward to catch up to her targets, which makes her great for 1v1s against other heroes. Now, there's an awesome competition coming up where Orange Juice, Ben Tim, Surtag, and myself will be participating in the Star Cup, and you can join my team and win up to $10,000. Step 1, click the link below to download now. Step 2, register for the Star Cup by using the second link below and fill out the information by February 24th. Now, the top 5 players that join my team will play with me against the other players in the Star Cup. I'm also going to be giving $100 Amazon gift cards to 2 random people that download the game and leave a comment below with their player ID and their server ID. Make sure you put hashtag MLBB giveaway in the comment section below so it's easy for me to find you. So download Mobile Legends Bang Bang and start practicing so we can team up in the Star Cup. And once again, a huge thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Okay, let's address the first issue with Brawl Stars right now. If you want to completely maximize your progress and get all the rewards you possibly can for Brawl Stars, here's everything you need to do, okay? Every 24 hours, you have to complete 2 daily quests. You have to play enough matches to earn 200 daily tokens before they cap out. And you also have to make sure that you play the Map Maker Candidate of the Day 3 times per day, or you'll miss out on 30 tokens. Every week, you have to complete a special weekend event quest 5 times, or you'll miss out on big rewards as well. On top of that, you also have to play 12 matches for Power League every week, ideally when you can actually schedule matches with your club mates so you can actually get more points. But that's not all that you have to do. Every 30-day trophy league, you need to make sure that you push every brawler by at least 1 trophy so you don't lose any ranks or any trophies with each league reset. Also, every Brawl Pass season, you need to make sure that you win at least 60 games in Power League or you will permanently miss out on that season's exclusive skin. Just make sure you don't spend too much time playing Power League though, because you also have to make sure you complete all of your Brawl Pass quests before the season ends, and that includes playing brawlers that you might really not like to play on maps or modes that you don't really enjoy. And that is the minimum that you have to do if you do not want to miss out on rewards. If you don't want to miss out on any exclusive pins or skins or just other rewards in general, you need to make sure that you win every special challenge that Brawl Stars releases, and you'll want to be in a competitive club that wins first in Club League every week, because club coins are one of the best ways to get scrap and gear tokens, not to mention special skins that can only be unlocked from club coins. This is a lot of stuff to do, and I'm saying it like it's kind of like a bad thing, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing. I want there to be a lot of stuff to do in Brawl Stars, and I want you to feel rewarded for playing it. But Brawl Stars wasn't created to be the type of a game where you're supposed to like sit down and play for hours at a time. If it were, the matches would last like 10 to 30 minutes long instead of like 1 to 2 minutes, right? And ideally, there'd be some sort of a port to play on like PC or console, right? Brawl Stars was made with mobile in mind, as well as a mobile gaming audience in mind. And if you're like me and you want to be as efficient in the game as possible, but you also have, I don't know, like a family or maybe a job, or you're in school, or you just don't have the time to play for more than 30 minutes a day, there's just too much to do in the game right now, and it feels really overwhelming and grindy. And I like there being stuff to do in the game, but I think that it could feel rewarding without feeling punishing if you don't play specific ways. And I think this is the year when Brawl Stars does something to try and fix this. I've been trying to think of a good solution for this for a while, and I thought of like quest refresh or being able to choose your quest or whatever, but I think I found something that I actually really like, both from a player perspective as well as a developer perspective, okay? I really like the current quest system, and I think that mostly everything should stay the same with one exception. Now hang on here for a second, but I want Brawl Stars quests to have 5 times more requirements to complete, but they could be completed by any brawler in any game mode. This sounds worse, just a second, okay? For example, if a quest required 10 kills with Colette before this change, it would now require 50 kills with any brawler that would go toward the quest. But there's a catch, and that catch is a bonus if you play a specific brawler or if you play a specific mode. In the example of getting 10 kills with Colette, you would have get 50 kills total, any brawler, whatever, but you would get a 5 times bonus if you're playing Colette. That way, if you play Colette, it's still the exact same quest. You just get 10 kills and you complete the quest. But this actually fixes a lot of issues without taking away from the current system. Let's say you get a quest to win a certain number of matches in a game mode and you don't like playing it. I love Siege, but maybe you don't like playing Siege. Instead of the game forcing you to play Siege when you've tried it before, you know you don't like it, you don't enjoy playing it, and it feels like a chore to do so, you can leave this quest alone and focus on playing other game modes that you do enjoy. You can play Brawl Ball, right? And you're gonna get some quests throughout the season that are gonna give you bonus points if you play Siege, but if you play like a ton of games, you're still getting rewarded for playing, even though you don't have to be forced to play Siege, okay? This also fixes the issues for getting a quest for a brawler that is like really high up, okay? You might have pushed Byron to like 1,200 trophies and you don't want to risk playing him to complete that quest. You want him just like sit there, right? You want to focus on just, you know, let him there, stay there. This would allow you to actually do that. It also fixes the issues for people who prefer to play either Power League or Map Maker, right? I love Power League. Like seriously, I think Power League is just a better version of Brawl Stars. I love it. And I find it way more enjoyable to play than regular ladder matches. And with this change added to the game, I could focus on just playing Power League because I enjoy playing Power League almost exclusively. And then I would still get some quests unlocked for certain brawlers. And you know, a lot of brawlers just aren't competitive in Power League. And that means that at the end of the season, I played a bunch of Power League and I've had lots of fun, but I haven't felt like I've been rewarded for playing Power League because, you know, I didn't play Shelly when Shelly's just not very good in Power League right now. I mean, there's some times when you can play Shelly, but like, let's be honest, right? You're only gonna play the best of the best brawlers in Power League. The current system feels like you're getting punished when you don't play brawlers that you don't wanna play. The new system would feel like a bonus when you play those new brawlers, but you would still get rewards otherwise. Now, this first issue is that Brawl Stars, there's just too much to do. However, there's also plenty of players that feel like there's not enough to do, or that the current game is getting stale. Brawl Stars is coming up on the 5-year anniversary of when it was first released in beta. And honestly, the game is very different than when it back then, than when it was actually released globally 3 years ago. But there are plenty of people who have been playing for 2 years, 3 years, even almost 5 years. And that's 5 years of gem grab, 5 years of Brawl Ball, 5 years of showdown, bounty, and heist, okay? I'm not saying these game modes aren't still fun. They're a lot of fun. I still really enjoy them. I just think that the game would really benefit from a lot of new content this year. A lot of new ways to play Brawl Stars. And I got a lot of ideas on how to do that. I can't tell you how much I love that Brawl Stars has added new temporary game modes for the recent seasons. And I want them to keep doing that. New game modes like Duels, Basketball, Peekaboo, all of these new game modes, they were so much fun. And albeit they probably weren't as popular as the regular game modes that everybody knows and they love, but it's fun to try these things out, even if it's just for a short period of time. What I'm hoping for is that they will add new content into the game like that, but on a whole new level. I'm talking about a new and different event every single weekend. Currently, we have Robo Rumble, Big Game, and Boss Fight, and it rotates through those 3 every single weekend. And there was a tweet that Frank sent out recently. It was a couple months ago, actually, but it was in response to somebody saying that those were really boring. He was like, you know what, actually the new player base actually is still really enjoying that. And like, that's good. I like that. I like that new players are really enjoying it, but as a long-term player, they've gotten really old. Honestly, I mean, I don't know. Like, you do them just for those 5 quests, and then you're over with it. It's just like, it's kind of actually annoying to have to do that every single weekend. If it were my choice to do something with weekend events, here's what I would do. First of all, I would keep those 3 weekend events, but I would add other game modes into the weekend rotation, starting with other game modes that Supercell has already made. Stuff that they wouldn't even have to create new program for. One weekend, it might be Boss Fight. The next weekend, it might be Basketball. The 3rd weekend might be Robo Rumble, but the weekend after that could be Peekaboo. Game modes like Takedown and Lone Star that honestly, are not very fun to play for like a long period of time, but for a couple of days, maybe 2 to 3 times a year, that would actually be really kind of fun, right? And Supercell could continue to create new game modes that last a whole season long, like duels, right? They create new game modes that they put in for the whole season, and then once that season is over, they add that game mode back into the rotation of weekend events. But that's not all I want Supercell to do. I want them to come up with even more random game modes, even if those game modes aren't fair. One idea that came to mind was Old Heist. For those of you guys that didn't play Brawl Stars back in the beta, here's how Old Heist worked. One team has a safe to defend, and the second team only wins if they can destroy it. If the safe is alive after 2 minutes though, the defending team wins. Old Heist was super unbalanced. It was frustrating to play as a permanent game mode. Sometimes in the meta, defending was like way better to play than actually going on the offense, whereas other metas, going on offense was way better. But for just one weekend, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. But then there's some things that I feel like Supercell could do that would be kind of tricky to add to the map maker, but they could be really solid weekend events. Like 5v5 knockout on a showdown size map, right? Or a 20-man showdown match with double the power cubes spread throughout the map, right? Maybe even a game mode called Infinite Supers, where every brawler recharges their super every 3 seconds. Game modes like those sound like super busted, way unfair, and would not be enjoyable to play like, you know, more than like a week long. But once again, if they were only available for 2 or 3 weekends a year, it would be super fun. Now, all this brings up a really important question. Would we rather have Supercell spending the time to develop these temporary game modes that would only happen like once every few weeks? Or should they focus on creating permanent content that we'll all be able to play all the time? I think most of us would agree that we'd rather have permanent content. I think the idea is that the Brawl Stars developer team would try and create event modes that wouldn't be too time consuming for them to actually make, so they could then spend the majority of their time working on stuff that would be permanent. Here are some game mode ideas that I would love to have added to the game. Juggernaut. This is a game mode where one player is the boss brawler, meaning that they get like a big HP buff, a speed buff, and a damage buff. Not quite as big as in big game, but it would be big. And whoever kills that boss brawler becomes the next boss brawler on the spot, and then they try to get as many kills as possible before they end up getting taken out by the rest of the team. The trick is that they only get points for kills when they are the boss brawler. So the idea is to try to become boss brawler as much as possible and get as many kills and, you know, get more kills than your other boss brawler enemies, teammates, or whatever, how it works. I'd also love to see a game mode called Brawl Party. And this is one that I don't think would actually take very much time for them to develop. The idea is that you queue into Brawl Party, and then the game randomly selects a 3v3 game mode, and then randomly selects everybody's brawler. And every time you respawn as a different random brawler. And since nobody chooses the game mode, and nobody chooses their brawler, and it's always changing, it'd be super chaotic, it'd be super unfair, and it would be super fun as long as it didn't happen for more than like, you know, 2 to 3 weekends in the year. I'd also like to see a game mode called Duplicates. Kind of the same thing here. The game randomly selects a 3v3 game mode and then randomly selects one brawler, and everyone on both teams would have to play that same brawler for the entire match, right? You can obviously have like, you know, 3v3 Mortis on Showdown or 3v3 Dynamites jumping around in Showdown or whatever, but I want to be able to do this on Brawl Ball or Gem Crab or any of the game modes. Like, it sounds like a ton of fun. I feel like this last year, Brawl Stars finally started to explore into like trying out some different game modes. When the game very first came out, it was really important that they focus on getting like a few core game modes solid and like make sure that they were the best of the best. And I think that's really awesome. I'm ready for the wacky and fun game modes. I'm ready for things to just be crazy and for like the weekend event to like change every single week. It sounds like a lot of fun to me, even if it's not balanced and it's not fair. Now, obviously this isn't the only new content that I would want Brawl Stars to be focusing on throughout the year. I want them to add other stuff into the game, but an issue with the game right now is that people have been playing the same games and the same game modes and same maps even and same brawlers for years now. And it'd be really awesome to get some new, fresh content. And I feel like this would help make the game feel like it's getting like a consistently more fresh, new game experience, right? Some new content kind of frequently, even though they're just gonna be recycling old content. Now let's talk about the third issue that Brawl Stars is facing right now. And that is how much unfinished content the game actually has right now. Now, please do not believe that I'm saying that I feel like the game feels unfinished. I don't. The game is amazing, right? But as Brawl Stars has added and changed stuff over the years, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that that just isn't finished yet. Or there are a lot of features in the game that have been there for a while that could just be better, and that Supercell hasn't addressed it for one reason or another. And I'll talk about why I think that is a little bit later in this video. Let's just list out some of the things that I feel like are obvious improvements for the game right now. It has been 7 months since any brawlers got second gadgets, and 16 of the brawlers in the game still don't have their second gadgets, okay? I feel like it's an obvious thing that Supercell needs to get those second gadgets for all the brawlers and start releasing new brawlers with 2 star powers and 2 gadgets. The next thing is most of the pins in the game are animated, but still there are some like random ones that are static and feel very out of place, and like you don't want to use them even if you really like that pin. Also, when you buy a new skin for a brawler who has a skin randomizer selected on for that brawler, that new skin isn't automatically added into the right randomizer. It's like, why did I buy the skin if like you don't add it to the randomizer, just add it in there, okay? We also have 54 brawlers in the game, and there's no way to sort brawlers alphabetically. It's starting to get really frustrating to go back, you know, figure out how to sort them all. Like there's really only one way that makes sense, and that's by rarity. And then secondarily, it's by when brawlers were released. And that's such a weird system, right? You have to memorize which rarity every single brawler is, when alphabetical would just make so much sense. Also, there's no way to suggest brawlers to your teammates in Power League. Dodging matches in Power League and Club League during the draft and ban selection is still an issue that still hasn't been completely addressed. And on top of that, when it comes to Power League, or really just matches in general, we don't have any way to report players, and Supercell has not come up with a system or a way to deal with players who are purposefully giving up or throwing matches in power matches, which, I mean, honestly, that has led to a very frustrating experience for me in the game. Other issues include high trophy players that get rarely matched up against other players that have high trophies. So they end up facing a lot of players. They sit in matchmaking for a super long time. They face against people that have less trophies than they do. And then it ends up leading to trophy inflation. So they don't really actually get a challenge when they're playing a specific brawler. Also, when it comes to the map maker, there's no way to share or copy maps that you've made with anyone other than like adding them into a game room with you. Like there should be some sort of a link or a code or something like that that you can share. That's not to mention a lot of things that could actually be improved in actual matches. The aiming reticle for brawlers like Fang or Jean or Grom or Spike could be greatly improved to accurately show how their attacks actually work. Fang's is super short, but then his shoe goes flying off, and it is super hard and annoying to try and figure out exactly how that shoe is going to fly off. I want an aiming reticle to be able to see that. And similar thing for Jean and Grom, right? I'd also love to see health indicators for spawns when you're playing brawlers like Nita or Jessie, but the spawns are actually off of the screen. I would love to be able to see kills, damage dealt, and the amount healed at the end of the match, especially because we know that the game is tracking them for quests, right? Now, this next point is a little bit debatable, but I would really like to know which star powers, gadgets, and gears brawlers have on the enemy team right at the very start of the match. Since we only have 2 minutes to play a single match, I feel like we should know that right at the start. I'd also love to see a random brawler selector, just for the fun of it. Honestly, I just think that sounds like a lot of fun. And another thing I'd like to see is the ability to play again with randoms, but also be able to switch brawlers between matches. A lot of these things seem small, but we got a lot of other issues that Supercell, I feel like, has to address. I've already addressed gears in an extensive video in the past, so I am not going to talk about gears too much, but it's obvious that gears are not as great as they could be, and in my opinion, I think they need to be completely reworked, right? And the scrap requirement for them is way too high, and that actually brings up another really important issue, a big issue for the game, and that is new player progression. Since Brawl Stars added Power 11 into the game feels way more pay to win than it ever has been. I am not saying that the game is pay to win. Believe me when I say that I have paid more money to Brawl Stars than most people, and I'm definitely not winning every single match. My word, Legendary 3 in Club League is tough. But the game feels a lot more grindy, which is disheartening for new players specifically who don't have the experience of playing in the game. They just see Power 11 and they're like, what the heck? It's insane how high I have to get in there. I think it's fair to say that the game feels like it needs some good progression boosts, especially for players that are just starting out. Then of course we have improvements to Club League. Some players feel like Club League happens too often. Other players feel like it doesn't happen frequently enough. Some players don't enjoy Club League but feel forced to participate because how necessary the rewards are to keep up with the pace of new content and new brawlers being released, right? And it's really hard to find a good club since there's no way to label your club as competitive or not. Also, the daily cap to buying gold gold, power points, scrap, or tokens from the club shop. I feel like that cap should just be done away with so players can just buy as much as they want whenever they want. And let's not forget the fact that I feel like we've been left in the dust when it comes to Brawl Stars lore. It's been a while since the WKBRL live stream has stopped, and like we've got more questions than answers, and it's been a while since we've had any really big updates to it, okay? People have been begging me for a Brawl Theory video. I want to make them. There's just not nearly as many developments about Brawl Stars lore that I can talk about, at least in comparison to this last year versus the year before that. We've been talking about a lot of stuff, and it seems like I'm going all over the place. We got issues all over here, right? And honestly, any of these issues aren't really that big of a deal by themselves. But when you list them all out like I just did, and like there's a lot of improvements that I feel like a lot of people would agree should be added into the game, and that begs the question, why has Supercell not addressed them? I am not Supercell. Supercell has not spoken to me about why they have not addressed them, but I can tell you what I think. First of all, I think Supercell is already working on improving a lot of these issues. We know that they know that Gears missed the mark and improvements to the game economy has to happen, okay? I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some really big improvements to that in the very near future from when I'm releasing this video. The second reason why I think Supercell hasn't addressed some of these issues is actually like pretty simple. Fixing content that is currently in the game is just less exciting for players than adding new content to the game. I can almost guarantee you that everything that I have mentioned in this video has probably already been considered by the Brawl Stars developer team. They are passionate people who love the game and they want it to be the best game that it possibly can be. But like any of us, they only have so much time and resources. Whenever anybody suggests an improvement to what is currently in the game, they've got to decide whether that improvement is better than actually adding something new into the game. Would you rather have Supercell spend all of their time improving the content that's currently in the game or adding new content that you've never tried? I'm sure that some people will say that they would prefer more polish on the current game, but I think that it's a very safe bet that most people would prefer new content because that's what's fun. That's what keeps you coming to the game. And that is the big reason why I think the third issue with Brawl Stars will face this year is all the unfinished content that's currently in the game. I think this year is going to be somewhat of a balancing act for the developer team. They can't spend too much time working on new content or current issues with the game will result in a drop of player retention. People will quit because they're frustrated with current issues. On the flip side, they can't spend too much time improving the current game or the game will feel stale for current players because they're not releasing new content, and that will release to people getting bored and no longer playing the game. I don't think that there is a perfect way for Supercell to address this. Well, I mean, I don't think there's a perfect way for, like, everybody will have different opinions on this, but I hope that the developer team doesn't lean too heavily towards one way or the other. In other words, my hope is that they focus on releasing plenty of new content while also improving the current state of the game, current content in the game. No matter what though, I want you guys to know that I think that Brawl Stars is in a really good position right now. I'm not sure how many of you guys that are watching this right now watch the Brawlies on the Brawl Stars YouTube channel, but they talked about something really interesting, and they specifically said that the Brawl Stars channels were set on fire after the Club League and Gears update. Like, they know that we didn't like it. But then they said that the day that we stop talking to them is the day that they know something is wrong. The developer team knows how passionate the Brawl Stars community is, and they have done, honestly, like seriously, I tell me if I'm wrong, I can't think of a single other developer team that has done a better job at reacting to criticism than the Brawl Stars developer team has. Seriously, they have called us the best community and said that they were lucky to have us, but honestly, I feel like we are lucky to have them, right? Brawl Stars is a more fun game now than it was a year ago. I don't think that people can disagree with that. And I'm confident that the game will be even more fun a year from now. But I want to know what you guys think about the state of the Brawl Stars. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? What are your thoughts, okay? What do you think Supercell should focus on this year? Let me know down below and subscribe for more Brawl Stars content in the future right here. You can also check out more Clash Mini content right here, Free Fire content right here, and here's another Brawl Stars video right here that YouTube thinks that you should watch. Like, it's like, hey, we think you'll like this. So you could probably trust YouTube, right? For now, this is KairosTime ticking by. We will see you in Brawl Stars.